What it is, y'all, it is your old boy Pilk, and I'm going back tonight with more Danmachi. And tonight we're talking about Familia Rush. And this has been around for a couple of days, and it's going to be around for a few more days, but it's starting to get to that point where we're going to be getting into the higher difficulties. Mobs are going to be becoming higher level, harder to beat, have more lifespan, things like that. So we want to talk about how you're going to maximize the amount of damage. Because remember, the whole point here is to kill them as quickly as possible and move on to the next level. So to do that, obviously, you're going to have to produce more and more and more damage. So let's talk about how you're going to produce damage and what your goals are in Familia Rush. Now, level 1, I'm currently on level, we're on level 2, but Familia Rush enemies 1 technically, you're gonna have the red dragon. It's gonna be one of that dude, two of the red dragons. They do fire magic attacks and physical attacks. They do both. They buff strength and magic both, so you want to remove those very specifically. And the red wyverns, they do fire magic attack and they buff their critical rate. Now, you can remove critical rate. I personally find it's really not that important. Removing the critical rate isn't really going to change too drastically how much damage you take. Not to the same extent that buffing strength is going to do. It's not going to feel good, but at the end of the day, until you get into, like, you know, the level 100 area, that's not really something that's going to be all that really bad to deal with. And then, even then, there's only a handful of units that remove critical rates, so you got to be a little picky about how you want to debuff these opponents, okay? The resistance for Familia Rush Enemy 1 are fire and wind, or fire is plus 50, wind and dark are plus 30. That means earth and thunder is 0. That means water and light are your two best friends for this particular event. Now, this is going to change a lot throughout this event, okay? Physical and magic are both at 0%, so you can use either physical or you can use magic. It doesn't matter. Whatever, even use a combination of the of those effects. But really, for this event, light is your best friend, and that works for me because my light teams are off the damn chain. Especially my physical light team. Holy hell. So that is really good. For those of you that have like your Anyas and things like that, your physical light teams will wreck this event to the end of the earth. Now, that is to say Anya is a single target attack and you mostly want to use AoEs. Because remember, while your single target units are probably producing 1 million, 2 million damage, your AoEs are producing 500,000 damage across all 5, opponents. It's not until you get down to 1 or 2 opponents that it actually might benefit you more to use single target units. So do consider that very heavily. You've got 5 opponents here. If you get at 5 opponents at 500,000 damage, 600,000 damage, versus 1 opponent at, 1.5 mil, 2 mil, you're going to get more damage per capita and beat these opponents faster if using AoE attack units, okay? So that's just a little strategy you want to start considering there. It says form a water party or light party of units with attack all targets. The red wyvern buff its critical rate. Those are the 3 in the front. So prevent it with an assist or using skills. Red dragon buffs its strength and magic. That's an easy one. That, once again, is kind of the reason you'd want to use Anya. Though, once again, that is a single target attack, so you want to use an AoE there. I was just using her and alternating between the 2 attacks, and it was doing fine for me. It just wasn't, you would get more damage out of it, but consider your resources, okay? Remove their buffs and raise the resist of your allies. So, a lot of strategy involved in this. But like I said, at the end of the day, the goal here is to produce as much damage as you possibly can. And, well, that's kind of the best thing you got going for you there. Level 2. This is what I'm currently running, what I'll be running here in a moment. Infant Dragon. That's that big boy in the back. He does not look like an infant. Physical attack, fire, magic attack. So once again, does both. Use your skills to decrease strength and magic of your allies. What? Decrease strength and magic of your allies? Oh, he uses skills. So he's going to debuff your strength and magic. So you're going to have to keep rebuffing is basically the long and the short of it. I don't know if that actually is nerfing your strength and magic. says decrease, not remove. So you're going to have to remove those. So someone that removes debuffs is going to be really, really, really important on this team. Okay? Little Weaver. There's 2 of these bad boys in the front. Physical attack, wind magic attack, buffs its critical rate once again and uses a skill to inflict seal on your ally. So you need to use seal anklets or have 100% seal resistance when you're fighting this fight. I've actually applied the seal anklets for mine. If you have questions about how to basically apply anklets and all that stuff, check out the previous videos where we talk at length about the different types of armors and anklets and things like that. There's a whole video on this channel about how all that's done. But the long and the short of it is just know you want to use seal anklets, and I'll show you how to basically set that up here in a moment. Okay? Light resistance is up 30%. Earth, thunder, and dark are 0. Wind is down 30. Fire and water are down 40. So you don't want to use light on this one. Okay? Fire or water would be best. Wind is second best. This works for me because my fire team is ridiculous. However, physical resist is up 30%. Magic is 0. So you want to use magic units, which sucks for me because my magic team is so bad. We'll discuss that when we get into the fight, but my magic team is not really there. I'm going to use physical. You can actually use physical and debuff that back down so it's more in a more reasonable rate, so they'll actually take some damage. But if you can debuff the magic and use magic units, that would be preferable. Form a wind magic attack party, fire magic attack party, or water magic attack party, or a combination of the 3 of units with attack all targets. Once again, attack all skills will most likely be king here. But use your intellect. If you have a unit that's hitting 4 times as hard as your AoEs, you're going to get more damage out of that unit in the end of the day. So be intelligent about how you're going about these fights. There's only 3 opponents here. Starting to see where this is a little bit of strategy comes into play here. Weaver buffs its critical rate, so prevent it with an assist or ally. Once again, I don't worry too much about that. Incoming damage isn't as important to me as basically just making sure that I'm producing damage. Okay. All targets attack is strong, so buff its magic or raise the resistance of your allies. We'll get to that in a moment too. So basically, they're going to hit hard, super hard. That's that critical rate once again. So defensively be on your guard. Now, when we get into the actual fight, we'll determine whether that's really all that critical or not, but we'll talk about it. The final boss here, before you rank up again, I should say, the third fight is the single target fight, the Minstrel Dragon. Physical attacks and wind magic attacks use this skill to inflict stun on your allies. So just like with the last one they did seal, this one does stun. You want to apply stun anklets to all of your units. Use a skill to increase damage received by attacks single targets on your allies. So, single target attacks are going to hurt worse than AoE attacks. Once again, though, I say until you get up into the high levels, it's really not that big a deal. Buffs is strength and magic. Now, for me, this is an easy one. There are plenty of units in the game that remove those buffs. So I just say remove the buffs. That's super easy. Removing strength and magic is super, super simple. We have a lot of units that do it. Okay? Form a wind party or fire party of units with single target attack. Be prepared for the enemy's use of a skill that inflicts stun on your allies. Once again, we said you got to use a stun anklet. You've got to. It's just absolutely critically important. So that is all the fights that are involved here. But let's go ahead and jump back over to the game and talk about strategy a little bit, okay? So we're here on this level. Grab my game here real quick. I'm going to go ahead and grab my team, all right? So the things to consider. Infant Dragon does physical attacks and fire magic attacks, so we just want to debuff the hell out of that. Uses a skill to decrease strength and magic of your allies. Now, what I'd really need to do here is I need a skill that removes debuffs or reduces debuffs. And I don't really have that, unfortunately, on this team. I don't think. I don't remember what she does. So fire, mid-fire magic attack and magic resist and fire resist down 30%. That's super handy. High fire magic attack with high penetration rate, self magic buff and fire attack damage plus 70%. And high critical rate with status debuff plus 2 turns. So I need something that's a status debuff that is basically an ally's status debuff minus 2 turns. I don't have that in my fire team. I don't believe so, at least. I'd have to go through the full list to determine who it is, but I don't, unfortunately, have that. So the debuffs are going to suck, and basically what we're going to do is before we do any kind of SAs, we're going to have to make sure that everything is removed. Now, you will notice my new Reveria, she is only +2. I wish she was higher, I haven't pulled her yet. Hopefully we'll be doing some of that tomorrow night on stream, but for now, it is what it is. Now, I've got the single target buffer here, but I need the AoE buffer. Which one was the AoE buffer? Blah, 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 blah. It's this one, isn't it? Yeah. So we want an assist on here that increases AoE attack damage, and that is going to be that unit right there. You'll notice the main things I have on here. I have Apollo. He is not leveled all the way up, but it won't matter that much. Foes strength and light resist minus 10%. So it's going to reduce the strength and light resist down 10% from where it is, which is currently for... I said strength, didn't I? Come on, Apollo. Open back up here. Fire and light resist. I said strength. Strength 10% is what he gives to my allies, but... Fire resist will go down 10%. Fire is already 40%. It's going to go down 50%, which is going to be a lot of fun because Crosso's going to come in, and he's going to debuff that down 30%. And so does Reveria. Now, Reveria also does magic down quite a bit, so they're going to help. Crosso's going to drop physical. Reveria's going to drop magic. That fire resistance is going to be just hilarious once we actually get in there. Okay? So you want to actually plan this out accordingly. You want to make sure all of your units have something going on with them. Now, let me see something here. He's got 427 magic. She's got 436. I really need that, because what this Freya does, if you're not familiar, ammo resist 100%, strength and magic, and physical resist and magic resist plus 20%. So the magic 20% would be really good for Reveria. I'm going to keep her in place. I probably could bring Reveria in later, but then she's not going to get that fire buff. So I'm going to go ahead and see if this would work with this team. So one thing I forgot to do before I jump in here, and it kind of did ruin the last run, apologies to my teammates. One thing I did forget entirely to do here is show you the equipment. So what you can do is you go down here to auto equipment and go to armor, and you can go click seal right there. That's going to apply the seal anklet. Notice that right there. I clicked down and off. That's going to apply the seal anklet to everybody on here. Now everybody has their glorious anklet, won't get bodied. But wait, there's one other thing I've got to do. Now that I've got everybody with the seal anklet, I've got to go back and I've got to change this so that my Line actually has her swap anklet. So I'm going to give her the magic swap anklet. Not that it matters too much. It's not like she's going to be producing crazy damage. And I'm going to give Galamus the other one. I'm going to give him the physical swap anklet. Boom. If you've got sack units, you've got to remember to do this after applying your the auto equip. Okay, I just like auto equip. It's just a quick, dirty way to get the best units for my people. And now we've got everybody that's going to be fighting has a seal anklet. Everybody that's going to be leaving has a swap anklet. Now we can go back in and we can do our thing. So, Familia skill activated. Let's fight this fight. Okay? Crozo is going to come out of the gate with a big debuff. I'm going to go ahead and buff everybody's essay skill. Thank you, phone, for doing that. It's been a minute since you've messed up, but I appreciate you just reminding me in the middle of this run You're annoying. Once again, I'm going to buff 33% SA gauge for everybody. I'm going to go ahead and do the big self buff for Riveria. Now, one thing I forgot about Riveria is that she is a single target unit. I don't know why I had it in my mind she was an AoE. She is single target. So in this, I probably would be better with Katori if I'm completely frank. Only because Katori is fully bonded, fully maxed out, and has her ascended weapon. She is going to produce more damage in the long run than Riveria is going to produce, but that's okay. We're just going to showcase her for the sake of this. Now, if I ML beat her, that'd be a whole different kettle of fish. And we could talk about that. That actually probably warrants its own video, and I probably should consider doing that tomorrow, but let's just see what happens here. Okay? So we're going to go ahead and do the second skill for Argonaut and Kraza. That is their AoE skills. And I'm going to go ahead and do Earthshaker with Galamus. And with Riveria, we're going to go ahead and drop that magic debuff and physical debuff. Even though it's kind of, the fire debuff is kind of redundant between these two, Krazo and Riveria, that magic debuff is going to be important to producing damage. So now we've got everything in place. I am going to do Yosuga on this turn rather than the Haruhime debuff. Main reason I'm going to do that, they're not producing the kind of damage that, you know, it would otherwise be terrifying, frankly. But, you know what? And we can go ahead and debuff one more time with Argonaut. And that's just going to keep everything in place. So we're going to do Yosuga on this turn. And then I'm going to do Burn Away. And then that's just going to keep everybody nice and happy. I'm going to continue doing Awakening Spirits with Argonaut. A, he gives a heal with this. B, it's a big AoE attack. So, yeah, it's going to produce a lot of damage. Now, notice my strength and magic are down on Argonaut and Krazo. That sucks. I have to wait for that to expire since I don't have anybody that can remove that before I can do SAs. I don't know when that's going to be, but that's where I'm at as a human being running this event. Now, I could go ahead and do Sheikah on this turn and increase the counter rate. It's not a bad idea. It does mean that I'm going back into the danger zone with the buffs, but hey, you know, it is what it is. Okay? So, all the buffs and debuffs. Next turn I should be able to do an SA. So that's good news. That's good news. So we're in good shape with all the buffs and debuffs. Let's go ahead and do Sheikah on this turn. That's going to increase the counter rate. It's going to probably allow us to do a little bit more damage. Alright. So now we're at a state where we're going to be able to do an SA here. And I've got a decision to make. Do I do an SA with Riveria and risk not producing the kind of damage I want to produce, but physical is still up 5 and magic's down 30. I think I'm going to do that. So let's see what she does here, just out of pure curiosity. I probably could have waited one more turn, done a big 100% buff with her, but I don't know if it's worthwhile, honestly. If I do multiple SAs with her versus the one, oh, okay, that was almost, was that 92k or was that 900k? I don't even know. I have to go back and watch that. Was that good or was that pathetic? Let's see. She debuffed again. She is not debuffed, so we can do that one more time. Let's take a look. All her buffs and everything should still be in play. Instant replay, I guess. Now, I probably could have waited in hindsight and then done a double SA with Argonaut and Krazo and probably gotten a lot more out of this. But again, I couldn't recollect, frankly. Yeah, that was almost a mil. Nice. So probably would have gotten more out of Argonaut and Krazo, maybe. That's a big maybe. Because I don't know how much more they would have produced with, the buff the way it is. That said, this team is capable of a team similar to this is capable of significantly more than what our units are producing, just frankly speaking. Mostly because you need AoEs and you need magic units. So a good magic team could it's not a bad score, though. Could be better, could be worse. So let's go ahead and get the breakdown on the score and see where we're at and what all this score means. Okay. Is it going to give us the score breakdown? It is not. Okay. So total damage is 4.2 million. And the challenge bonus is 141%. So we got a score of 5.9 million. So not the absolute worst, not the absolute best. Now, the other question I get a lot, and I mean a lot, is what is this bonus time? Bonus time is really simple, like silly simple. Basically, all bonus time is it increases the rate at which you acquire those extra 2 passes. You've got 4 fights a day, and you've got to fight the rest. You've got to basically do the other events to get these other 2 fights. Very simply put, all this does during your bonus time is accrue those other 2 fights faster. That's it. Now, if you're actually playing the game during the day, which clearly I have not been, but I've been busy today. If you've been playing the game during the day, then this really wouldn't matter. By the time you get to bonus time, you've got the extra fights anyway. Being that I've got bonus time coming up here in just a few short minutes, basically what that means is I could fight a handful of fights and get my other 4 fights faster. It's just a way to accrue your other 2 battles that much quicker. And it's up to the leader of your Familia what times those are. For me, I've set one in the morning and then one in the evening. That's usually during our stream time. So take your pick on that one. But for the time being, that is going to be the video. Hopefully that clarifies a lot of this, and hopefully this gives you guys clues on how to run these events. Other than that, guys, if you have any other questions, put them in the comments section down below. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. I'll be back at you guys with more Danmachi here in a little tiny bit.